So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you all. My name is Landon Rank, he, him. I'm the Associate Director with SB Act, and I'm joined by my colleague, Kai Tilley. If you're new in this group, this is our monthly Goleta Community Concerns meeting discussing homelessness in the city of Goleta. And so we want to welcome you, and we're glad to have so many people here from the community, as well as we have our mayor, Paul Perotti, with us, as well as city staff. Chuck and Jaime, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Jaime Valdez. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Services. Also on the call, we have Robert Nisbet, who's our City Manager. I'm just looking around. Paul Medell, our Public Works Manager. I'll just go ahead and introduce Chuck. Chuck Flax, our Homelessness Services Coordinator. And I think that's all I see so far on the city staff. So thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Jaime. So at this meeting, we'll be discussing the impact of homelessness throughout the city of Goleta. We'll start with some general announcements, and then we'll move in towards updates from the specific outreach providers, and then we'll have an open time for community members to share any concerns or questions you might have. And then I do see it's already started in the chat, but if you don't mind, everyone, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat window and any organizations you're with, just so that anyone who's new on the call will know who's here. So we'll start with a couple of just general announcements. Number one, I'm going to share my screen. Just in case you missed it 2 weeks ago, so the city of Goleta is a part of a South County-wide collaborative to address homelessness alongside the cities of Goleta, or Santa Barbara and Carpinteria. And so we had our initial open community meeting to talk about that collaborative, as well as just to hear from each of the individual cities, as well as the county of Santa Barbara about how they're addressing homelessness and encampments throughout the area. So I encourage you, if you haven't watched it yet, to go ahead and check that out. You can see the website there. It's sbact.org/wraps to watch the recording. But we're really hoping to keep making some progress throughout this South County region on homelessness together. And so we need community input to help make that effective. So we appreciate you checking that out and joining with us in this. So we have a couple of updates to discuss today. We'll start with number one because we have Evan Bowman with us from the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara. Evan, would you mind giving an update about the Buena Tierra project, and maybe start with just an explainer about the project in case there's anyone on this call who's never heard of it?
Okay, sure. Buena Tierra, I'll start being a regular on these calls. I've had a very busy schedule, and usually John Polanski is here, but I'll be sitting in every time as well from now on. Buena Tierra is the conversion of the Super 8 hotel, which is very defined through Home Key, where we're going to have very specific homeless targeting, FYIK, former foster youth targeting, and also graduates from the Santa Barbara Cottage recuperative care units. So it's going to give a lot of resources that we didn't have before, especially for different demographics within the homeless communities. Moving forward, unfortunately, we're still having issues on the construction side. We're still targeting for lease up this year, before the end of the year. I can't get into too many specifics on this, but we have hit some roadblocks with getting everything passed on the finals, completion of constructions. And I'd be happy to share more details in our smaller group meetings that we're involved with, Landon.
That's great. Thank you, Evan.
No problem.
So this is a huge project for the city of Goleta to be able to benefit from. We'll see a lot of individuals who will be able to exit street level homelessness, or perhaps move in from the shelters where they've been staying, which will free up space in the shelters as well. So we're really, really excited about this, and look forward to hearing how we can support that project. I know at some point you'll be soliciting donations from the community. Is that right, Evan?
At this point, I haven't discussed that with John Polanski or Bob. Right now, we have pretty much our target funding coming in line on everything that we need. Like I said, we're pretty much ready to go. It just little hiccups on getting everything done and signed off on the construction side, but nothing major. It is still going to run smooth and come through. And for those that I don't know me, I'm sorry, I didn't really introduce myself too well. I'm the South County Manager for all the County Housing Authority, so I kind of take care of anything south of Lompoc to Carpenter.
And I was just going to add that the Buena Tierra project is will be 59 units of permanent supportive housing, along with one additional on-site resident managers unit. And there will also be several components of the project, including office space and other space for counseling sessions or meeting rooms. So the project will really change. If you've driven by it, you've already seen the transformation starting to occur, but it's a project that we're very excited to see come to fruition.
Thank you both. Any questions, whether for Evan or comments from anyone? And this is just one of several projects that are coming online, whether in Goleta or in the surrounding area. So stay tuned for more. So I have on my notes here to just give a brief mention about the Homelessness Issues Standing Committee. I don't know, Chuck or the mayor, if you'd like to mention that.
Sure. So as part of my role as the Homeless Services Coordinator, I facilitate a standing committee of the Goleta City Council, and we bring issues to them that might need a little more discussion and thinking strategically about how we want to address a variety of things. So today we're actually going to be discussing possibly entering into a contract with Hedges House of Hope, which is a Good Samaritan's shelter in Isla Vista, as well as an increasing problem with vehicles parking in many places in Goleta, but most specifically Pacific Oaks and Phelps. And we're also going to give some additional updates, but that's today, I believe, at 3. I don't want to get this wrong. 3:30 to 5. It's also on Zoom. I'll post a link to the Zoom meeting in the chat. You're also welcome to come to City Hall at 3:30.
Thank you, Chuck. And then one of the other homelessness adjacent issues that our city of Goleta has been working on is related to fire risks as regards camping. So I don't know, I know we discussed this briefly in our last community call, but since we have some new people here, Jaime, would you be willing to just share a little bit about the ordinance?
Yeah, just real briefly. So the ordinance, I believe, became effective, was it August 18th, I believe, was the effective date. City Council considered this ordinance, and what it does is it focuses on areas that are considered high fire risk areas, places that could, in certain situations, kind of take off on public land. Think of things like Lake Los Carneros, the Elwood Mesa, other smaller areas as well throughout the city. But essentially, it's designed to comply with the Boise decision, which says you're not allowed to sleep on public property if there's no shelters available. So in most other cases, we work with our teams to make sure that folks try to, access services, offer them shelter. And in those cases, the litmus test for being able to actually, cite someone or possibly even arrested is very, very high. We have to show a number of successive attempts to try to do it. What this does is it takes that out of the equation in the sense that it's basically you're not allowed, period. And so, yes, we will try to help someone, maybe the first time, but essentially it's, beware that you cannot be here, period. There's no, successive follow-ups, and our law enforcement can take the steps it needs to take to remove the person if absolutely needed. We don't want to necessarily have it get to that place, but in the event we need to, it's just a much faster way to ensure or attempt to ensure the safety of residents and neighbors in these areas that are considered high fire risk. And that's in a revised municipal code, which we can provide to anybody after the call. But essentially that's the general summary of the high fire risk ordinance. It also cleans up some language and makes some definitions on what constitutes camping in high fire risk areas. So it's designed to be a very good balance between the Boise decision and public safety, while also being able to make the city a little bit more proactive when it comes to these types of situations that we might find on public property.
Thank you, Jaime. So are there any questions about that? We know that this is an area of concern for many community members, especially as regards public safety. So then our last just general announcement for today was that we are working, SB Act is working alongside Christ Lutheran Church out on Los Caneros Road to develop a neighborhood navigation center site where once a week we can offer a whole variety of services from case management and housing navigation to more relief-focused services like healthcare and access to food. For individuals experiencing homelessness, it'll just be a couple of hours once a week. And so we're very excited about this and partnering with the city of Goleta to make that happen. We are starting to look for groups to provide meals. And so we're asking faith communities or student organizations or volunteer groups if they would consider donating a meal either once a month or once a quarter so that we can have a consistent meal for people as they come to the site. So if that's of interest to any of you, or if you're a part of a group that you think might be interested, I'm going to put my email address in the chat window. I would encourage you to reach out. We'd love to talk to you. And this is really an important part of us helping to help people move towards housing, because the more we can have consistent time building relationships with the individuals, the more likely they are to feel like they can trust moving forward with the housing process. So really our end goal here is to see more and more people get into housing by offering these basic things like meals and healthcare and amenities. All right. Yes, Mayor Perotti.
Well, I just want to just comment. This is great news. I know that's something that we've been working on for a while to get a navigation center. So it's news to me. I'm thrilled because, like you said, it will develop relationships and with our folks without homes, and then they can access the services that they need over time. So this is a great first step in continuing our collaboration with the folks that are experiencing homelessness. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to Christ Lutheran as well. I see a couple of folks on the call. So let's go ahead and go to our service providers just to hear some updates about the city of Goleta. Why don't we start with our partners from Good Samaritan?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Todd with Good Samaritan Shelter. Last week, the ARPA team made 3 shelter referrals. We also signed up 2 individuals into ARPA services. We also did several Fulcrum site visits. All of Elwood is completely updated in Fulcrum. There's only 1 active encampment as of Friday, and no active encampments along the Fairview Creek. On Friday, we responded to a request to check out an encampment on the Puente Drive along the Atascadero Creek bed. We covered the entire area and were unsuccessful in locating any encampments. All pins in that area have been updated in Fulcrum. We are in communication with Commander Brad Welsh of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, who made the request. Also, the majority of our time last week was spent on the next wave of clients getting their verification of disabilities and their chronic homelessness certifications. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Just a little translation, because Todd goes to a lot of these meetings and is used to reporting out. For people who are curious, Fulcrum is a system that we are using both in partnership with the County of Santa Barbara and the City of Santa Barbara. And what we have, it's a mapping software program, and we're actually tracking encampments from Gaviota all the way down to Carpinteria in the South Coast using this system. And it's a pretty exciting alignment of resources where we can bring to bear all the right people for a particular need in a particular encampment. And it includes vehicles, it includes all the different spaces that people are investigating. And it means that we can really respond quickly when we find somebody. So thank you, Todd, for that.
Thank you.
And then the other outreach agency in the city of Goleta is CityNet. So we'll go to CityNet to offer a report.
Hi, my name is Ellen Antonioli. I work with CityNet serving Goleta. I've been partnering a lot with my coworkers, Saul and Sarai, who are on our surf team, which is the transit corridor. No major updates. I won't take up a lot of your time. We've mostly been working with our existing caseload and focusing on areas like the Elwood train tracks, the tracks that run behind Old Town Goleta, Glen Annie, Los Carneros, both the train tracks and the lake side. Definitely have been an influx of new people interested in engaging in services. I think I have 4 back-to-back meetings with new people that I've never met before right after this. So we've definitely seen an increase in engagement, I think mostly motivated by Buena Tierra. The only downside to that is having to tell people that, there is a capacity at Buena Tierra, and it isn't a guaranteed spot, but it is nice to get that engagement started and get documents processed. Oh, we did get, actually, this is a client of Sol and Sarai's, did get one of their clients from Goleta housed last week, which was really exciting. He was chronically homeless, so that is very good news, and that was all Sarai and Saul. So that's my update.
That's great news. Nice job, Sarai and Saul. Also with us on the call today, we have the New Beginnings Counseling Center Safe Parking Program team who does outreach to people who are living in their vehicles. So let's go to Cora or Deborah.
Hi, everybody. Yep, this is Cora with New Beginnings Safe Parking. Pretty much kind of the same thing. We continue to do outreach in that area. We respond to requests for outreach. We either will make connections or leave flyers at that time. We also do the outreach at Pacific Oaks and Phelps. And, based on the signage that's out there, there's really no incentive for them to move along. They don't feel like they're doing anything illegal. So they stay when they stay and they move and then they go back. But we continue to do outreach. We continue to make connections. We continue to leave flyers. And that's the update.
Thank you, Cora. So for all 3 of these teams, if you're not already familiar, for the city of Goleta, there is a directory that has ways to communicate when you identify an individual who either needs help or maybe you see an encampment in an area. There's a couple different ways to report those so that we can send the service providers to try and work with the individuals. And so we have a directory for the city of Goleta. I think the one I have from the website is out of date. Chuck, is that correct? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and post it, but just know there will be a new one shortly. But this contains everything from what to do if an individual is having a mental health crisis to what to do if you see just a trash pile left over and what to do if there's an encampment, etc. So we encourage you to check that out and download the file. All right, and then maybe I'll just go to city staff finally to hear if you have any updates you want to share.
So I mentioned already the Homeless Issues Standing Committee that's today. Landon mentioned the Homeless Response Directory that has been updated in both English and Spanish. If you come to the Lemon Festival, we'll have copies there for handing out, and we're actually going to go through a major update of the homelessness programs on the website. So this is something that is in process and we'll be doing going forward. Just for people who might be new, I think there may be 1 or 2 new people on the call here. The city of Goleta currently doesn't have a homeless shelter. We don't currently do direct services in the city of Goleta other than outreach. And so what I'm very thankful for with SB Act and all of the different partners that are on this meeting is that we're able to really coordinate with the existing programs and services throughout the region, because of the tireless and constant outreach that's going on with these three organizations. And so I really want to thank them and continue, whenever members of the community report an encampment, we have a response within 24 hours, both from our outreach folks and then if necessary from law enforcement. So I feel very confident that we have our arms around the issue, and now the key is let's get people housed. And so Buena Tierra is going to be the first in many different units that open up that we can place people into. So we're doing well, we're moving forward, and we're always interested in hearing from the community when there's problems and concerns.
So I think that says, oh, go ahead, Jaime.
Oh, I was just going to add to, much of what we get and that's useful is items and discussions like these types of forums, especially our homeless issue standing committee, where we do have time to kind of get into some of the nitty gritty, some of the details. And so I would encourage anyone on this call, especially Cora or anybody from New Beginnings, to join our call this afternoon at 3:30. It's really important to be able to hear responses from those that are in the field rather than kind of a guess and check back. To be able to get immediate feedback is oftentimes the most helpful. And oftentimes the most helpful is getting, a hard truth be told to you, right? And we're not doing enough, or we could be doing more. So please take advantage of that. That's why we have these types of forums. That's why we have the Homeless Issue Standing Committee. We want to help address and ultimately solve the problem as best we can. And so while I see a lot of names on the call today, please take it to heart that we want to hear from you, whether it's directly in this meeting or if you feel more comfortable emailing Chuck, or like I said, maybe trying to get to the Homeless Issue Standing Committee this afternoon. We really appreciate it. If we don't hear from you directly, it's kind of hard to guess what's going out if we don't hear from you.
Randy, did you have a question? Randy Brown.
Hi there. Yes. It's actually Henry joined us in the meeting room here. This is Henry Saria. He's got a question here.
Hi, Al. Good morning. Good to see everyone here. So first of all, Hedges House of Hope. I live in Isla Vista. I'm a 36-year resident of Isla Vista, and I don't live on the west end of town. I live right in the thick of it on Segovia. One of the things that we've been seeing with the Hedges House of Hope is that the tenants or clients that are getting evicted from there for committing violations, they're settling in at Aniscoyo Park. And the ones that are waiting to get into Hedges House of Hope, they're settling in Aniscoyo Park. So it's creating a bit of a humanitarian crisis on the Isla Vista Recreation and Parks District, which my wife happens to be a director on the board. The other issue I wanted to bring up was, as a function of those removals, if you want to call it that, from the Hedges House of Hope, and this is directed towards Officer Gaston. Good to see you. It's been a long time. We usually see each other around Isla Vista. There's an encampment that popped up. It's been there for a while. I've been kind of monitoring it. It's behind Mammoth Movers, about, I want to say, 200 feet from the south side of the building, in the environmentally sensitive area on the west side of Los Carneros. This encampment's been growing and growing and growing. So I just wanted to give you the heads up on that one. It is on UC property, and it is an environmentally sensitive area. But it's one of those situations. This is kind of a game of, they've called this before, and it's called whack-a-mole. And the big problem that I see with Hedges House of Hope is that in and out, waiting to get in, rapidly expelled out. And we had an issue on Friday, my wife and I. We had a bike thief. We intercepted, we intervened, we engaged. It ended up with him relinquishing the bike, and him trying to say that my wife assaulted him, when he actually, in effect, assaulted her by pushing her. So we're having a problem, and On another note, I want to add, there is one lot that was in question, and that's on Embarcadero Del Mar, on the west side of Embarcadero Del Mar between Cervantes and El Greco. And that lot will no longer be a haven for people to camp out in, as it's been taken over by a local farmer to turn it into some sort of a farm. So he's been proactively cleaning it up. A lot of problem individuals that were there are gone. A lot of the garbage too. It's like 2 U-Haul trucks worth. So that's been taken care of. It's a process of one step at a time, but I will be monitoring things in the Isla Vista area, or just the outside area, and reporting every now and then. Thank you for your time.
Thank
If I
you.
may just respond to that. I'm going to put my email. This is Gary Gaston with UCSB Police Department. I'm going to put my email in the chat for everyone. If you wouldn't mind, it sounded like some of those campsites, encampments were on UCSB property. If you wouldn't mind just forwarding me the addresses of those so I can check in on them and see what's going on there. And then I can also assist with if Good Sam hasn't already gone out to contact them and others for resources.
Thank you, Officer Gaston. Yeah, and what these calls are primarily focused on just the city of Goleta, but we're glad we have connections here with Officer Gaston and Good Samaritan. There's a lot of overlap, we know. So thank you.
Well, and I think the point that, and I didn't catch your name, I'm sorry, sir, that he was making about homeless services and some of the ancillary impacts of providing services is real. I mean, I don't want people to think that we're, by addressing the problem, that we're going to overnight solve the problems that people have. And, as we focus on the issue, it becomes more visible. That's real. But the visibility means that people aren't dying in obscurity or in encampments off the grid, which has been happening more and more. Many people are familiar with the overdose crisis. It's definitely impacting the homeless community very seriously. And so the solution that we're offering is as a process. We do outreach to folks. We continue to offer services over and over and over and over again, and let them know that we care about them, that we're here for them. And then ultimately it's up to them to take advantage of what we're offering. But from my perspective, and I think from the perspective of the city of Goleta, the humanitarian approach ultimately solves the problem permanently when people move into permanent housing. And so that's why we are committed to it. That's why we continue to do it. It isn't always linear, and it isn't always clean and easy, but it's human and it's real, and we do it. Many people on this call, the majority of people on this call, do it full time. So it's a labor of love, and we are continuing it, and hopefully, with all of us rowing together, we make a big difference.
I had a question on that topic, actually. My name's Andrew. I'm at a company in town called Earthcomb. I employ homeless people and work within the homeless community to remove encampments. And
it's hard to see you, Andrew, but we know your work and appreciate it.
There we go. Yeah. One of my employees has been waiting to get into the Super 8, and I'm super hung up on it getting pushed off so many times, because these people's lives are volatile, and you're going to see a lot of names on that list that have been sitting there waiting for a long time drop off the list, or they're not going to be around when you're going to go to call them. So I'm worried about that. But I did want to throw a little pep talk in there too, that we're coming up on cold season. This is when we're going to be experiencing the rock bottoms with people. Chuck was mentioning, you just keep offering the services, and this is the time of year where they're going to start saying yes, where they have that really cold night that goes all the way to their bones, and you offer them a night at a shelter, and they finally say yes, and they open their eyes to you and your services. So I wanted to throw that in, and thank you everybody for all your service.
Thank you, Andrew. And yeah, we're all pulling for this property to open as early as possible. I know Evan is as well. Some of these have been related to supply chain issues at points, and there's a lot that's out of our control just to make sure that the building itself is safe and up to code. So, Mayor Perotti.
I like to thank you, Landon, and city staff and all the people on all the agencies on the call today. And I think it's this is a place where we want to hear your concerns, your suggestions, your thoughts. And I think having it at noon was a good, maybe a good step forward. If that doesn't work, maybe we could see if there's another time, but it's a safe place to go and tell us what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what's going on around you. And no judgment, but we want to hear from you. And thank you all for participating today. And thank you, Landon, for pulling this all together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Perotti. Other questions or comments from the community?
Hi, Landon. This is Ana Maya. I work with the Family Research Center, and I wanted to talk about some of the things that we're hearing from our families, because I think it would be, helpful because we're trying to work on homelessness, right? And there's a lot of happening right now with our families, especially in IV and some of them in Goleta, that their landlords are not renewing their contract anymore for whatever reason. They don't give them a specific reason why they're renewing their contract. We are referring them to housing mediation and also to IV tenants unit. But that means what that means is that these people don't have nowhere to go. They're becoming homeless. And, they're probably going to be living in their cars. And, the shelter at a transition house is completely full. There's a waiting list. And so these are things that are coming across right now with our families. And many of the families cannot afford paying, 3 times, the rent for a deposit and first month. And I thank you, Chuck, for sending me the information about the diversion program and that relocation assistance. Thank you. So we already spoke to a couple of clients, but just for you guys to be aware that this is going to become more of an issue later on, and we're going to have a lot more homeless people out there in the community. And I think it needs to somehow figure out a way how we could help our these people in our community with the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I don't know if someone else wants to share, but I think that this is one of the biggest concerns that there is countywide, within our countywide continuum of care, is trying to address the inflow of people experiencing homelessness, because we can help get people off the street all day, but if we're not preventing people from ending up on the streets in the first place, then it's just going to end up with the same results. So our county is really working to try and figure that out. And I know the city of Goleta has a vested interest as well. Randy, were you going to say something?
I just had a question. It wasn't clear to me who the people are that Anna was referring to. Are these people that were previously homeless, or these are people that could become homeless for the first time, as you were just addressing? I'm just not that familiar with the agency that.
Okay, Randy, is it okay if I share a little bit, London, about my agency?
Yes, go ahead.
So our agency used to be called I Live the Youth Project. So now we're LEAP. It's Learn, Engage, Partner, and Advocate. And our job is to, we work with families in the community of many different diversities, and they're mostly low-income families. And they're from Santa Maria. We work with clients from Santa Maria all the way to Ventura now that we're supporting with many different services. It could be, applying for affordable housing, food distribution that I host once a month. We have 210 people now attending. We have diaper distribution twice a month at our agency. We help and facilitate our clients and advocate with Department of Social Services that has to do with Medi-Cal, CalFresh, CalWorks. We also offer parenting classes in Spanish. We do offer immigration webinars every other month. We help families find jobs, put a resume together, apply for unemployment or disability, clothing, make referrals for clothing, Unity Shop referrals. We do so much in our community. And but our main focus right now and our main concern is that our families are going to become homeless because they're not renovating their contracts for whatever reason. And our families cannot afford paying deposits in the first month when they're asking 3 times your income.
But if they were there at 2 in the morning, we need to know if they self-paid.
So I kind of just gave you a little bit of a detail about what we do, but we do so much for our community.
They can't be there from 2 to 6.
Thank you for asking, Randy.
Nope, not they can be at 6.
Thanks, Anna.
Anna, this is Henry. Isla Vista dude. So a little description to some of you all that may know what's going on in Isla Vista. What's happened is an out-of-town company has purchased the Sweeps apartments and forgot the name of the other one, but they're over in El Colegio and Camino del Sur. And what's happened is these are companies from out of the area. They don't have any idea of the demographics in terms of the people, the ethnic makeup, the financial makeup. These are working class people living in most of these apartments that we're talking that Anna is mentioning. And they're very hardworking people. They're all friends of mine. I know them all. Yo siempre hablo con ella todos los días, con esa gente. But you know, the thing is that what's happened is you get these out-of-town companies that are doing what we call zip code shopping, and they type in a zip code and one of the highest rent-paying zip codes there are, and that's who's purchased these buildings, a company from Chicago. So what they're claiming they're doing is what's called, we call them rent evictions now. It's basically renovations to an apartment, and he jacks up the rent, and in that way, they basically say, well, we're raising up the rent. Can you meet it or beat it? Oh, you can't meet it? Well, you're out of here. And that's what's gone on. There hasn't been any evictions served yet. There have been end of term notices, which means that we're not renewing your lease. So that's the situation that we're facing. It's a completely different breed of potential homeless community. So just wanted to clarify what Anna was talking about. And thank you for bringing that up, Anna.
Yeah, Emily.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Allen. I'm a housing program specialist senior with the County of Santa Barbara. And I support our coordinated entry system. I'm with the homeless assistance programs. And there is, through diversion, there is relocation assistance available to those families. It can include help with housing navigation, finding another unit, and some of the financial costs associated. So I'll put some information in the chat. If there are families who need that assistance, we would like to get in contact with them as soon as possible.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, Evan.
Yes, Henry, hi, it's Evan. I wanted to address your team a little bit on Buena Tierra. Emily Allen can speak on the process still. There is still a lot of intake on doing eligibility criteria to meet the chronically homeless on that side. And there actually isn't a completed wait list with unit offer letters going out yet. I'm hoping in our next meeting I can give you much more detail. We have a team that's working with Emily Allen's team on that, on the coordinated entry system. So technically right now there's not like a ranking with a wait list with 400 people on it. We're in the process of building that wait list, and then unit offer letters will go out because we're still intending to lease up before year's end, late November.
And maybe just to add to that, so we're submitting pre-applications to build that wait list through the coordinated entry system. Most of the referrals do come through the coordinated entry system. Those are people who are chronically homeless, so they've been homeless longer and are disabled. Also the transitional aged youth and the recuperative care graduates. And then there are a number of VASH veteran referrals that will come directly from the VASH social workers. So it is the process, and we're working with providers to complete those pre-applications at this time. And so we look at people in the coordinated entry system, and so we would say if you know somebody, to connect them with the coordinated entry system. So when I put the diversion phone numbers in the chat, also put a link to the website that has all the physical access points for coordinated entry. And then the street outreach workers who are here today, they also act as outreach entry points for coordinated entry.
Thank you both.
Emily, I did have a question to the team. Has there been any update or changes to the hours for the intake sites that are all over the city area for Buena Tierra pre-application review? I've had quite a few people come in here, and I know things change or whatnot, but they were supposed to be open at this time. We went there, nobody was there at the site. Has there been any recent changes to working hours at the intake sites?
No, there have not been. There's been the addition of hours at the Father Virgil Cordano Day Center, which is, in the direction of Goleta, but not in Goleta, but our Goleta site is the same. And I haven't heard that that it has not been staffed. And I think, Good Samaritan and City Net are there. It is, it is somewhat limited hours though.
Understand. Thank you. I'll just keep directing them based on the last posting that I have of operating hours at our remote sites. So thank you.
I'll send you, make sure you have the most up to date if that's helpful too.
I think I might have it here. Emily, you can correct me if this is incorrect.
And the website is always, what we would encourage people to utilize.
So for those who may not be familiar, these are the sites where individuals can actually be entered into our coordinated entry system so that they can move forward in the process of accessing housing. So these are the sites where we really want to direct those experiencing homelessness in our community. And Emily put the link in the chat window there.
Yeah, I can quickly say, like, for us, and I see Good Sam there every Thursday at St. Athanasius, like, I would say, like, overlapping in the time we're there, we normally have someone either from our team or from Good Sam. They're from like 10 to 1. Like last week we were doing the CES site, so we were there for the period of time. I think the biggest point of confusion comes from people saying, like, they walk up and they say, I'm looking where I can sign up for the wait list for Buena Tierra. And then we kind of explain the process, and then it's not exactly like a straightforward wait list. And I think that might create some confusion with people, where they think they're not finding like the right location, but it's just because they were hoping they could go and write their name down for the wait list, and it's not how it's, how it works.
I'd like to also reiterate that we are at all the CES locations when it is our turn. This is Anais with Good Samaritan Shelter.
Yeah, and I think, what I heard, I think does happen is that, people think that they're going to complete a form for Buena Tierra, but that's not what happens. First, the coordinated entry process has to happen, the housing needs assessment. We have to verify homelessness, for certain units. We have to verify chronic homelessness, which means verifying the length and a disability. So it's a process before the pre-application paperwork, can even be completed by someone.
So we appreciate the conversation. Appreciate we've talked a lot about the system today, and for many of us that is really important. But I also want to make sure community members know you can just bring up if you have a specific individual or an area of concern. Please feel free to raise those here as well.
Hi there, Andrew here, again, Earthcomb. I just wanted to also throw in some info, or I guess some of my experience or whatever with people that are coming to be newly homeless. I think, they're probably being considered if you're gonna triage from necessary now to maybe later, and then maybe later. I think that people becoming homeless for the first time now would be the easiest people to house because they're going to say yes. But the trouble is that if they're not offered the services or they don't find the services, they're gonna fall into the life of being homeless. And then by the time we're even able to get to them, they're gonna say, no, I've just paid off this big van that I live in, and I'm totally used to it now. I'm not going indoors. So that's definitely something to take into account here, that when somebody is becoming freshly homeless for the first time, as somebody who has done that myself, I know that you really don't go back from that, and you fall into your habits. So after you stay somewhere or you live in a certain way for 6 months to a year, you're used to it. And then you're a long-term or permanent member of the homeless community. And then also when you have extended periods of homelessness, you're going to end up encountering mental illness. I mean, it'd be so much better to try and with the people that are becoming freshly homeless to not let that happen, because things will go wrong for them and it'll be a lot more expensive if you let it happen. That's my 2 cents anyway. Thank you.
Parodi.
Yeah, I received an email last Friday from a resident of Encino Royale, and she said, I was very surprised to see a couple of men and their belongings who seemed to be setting up camp on the sidewalk near Walgreens yesterday. It's unfortunate that they have to do this, and it is concerning. She said, I thought you would want to know about this encampment, which has just started, and you would know who to refer this issue to. So, and she also goes on to thank us for all the work that we're doing with our homeless folks. So, I don't know if you know about that, but I thought I'd mention it since I just received the email. Thank you.
Mayor, please forward that to me. I think you may have already done it. And
I may have, I will now, just in case I haven't.
This is a very visible site for an encampment, kind of a surprise. And so we've had outreach workers. These are people that are known to us. And so we have outreach workers already talking to them. I know Paul Medell is monitoring this particular site for cleanup of trash and abandoned belongings. And it's my recommendation that we post the site because we have offered shelter and services, and they haven't said they want them necessarily. I don't know if Ellen wants to, I don't want to put Ellen on the spot, but Ellen has been working directly with these folks. So we may be, doing a more formal cleanup of that site if they don't move on. So we're on
And
it.
I'm going to work with the sheriff's department on this to make sure we follow the process and working with them, we just don't want to kick them out. Like you said, we want to provide them services and do what we can and work with kid clubs when we do this stuff. But yeah, we'll work with sheriff's department. I'll follow their lead as we go, and hopefully we can come to conclusion with this. But we are aware of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, without discussing details of their case, I am familiar with them. I spoke to them on the phone this morning. These are people that have been cleared from multiple sites along the train tracks. So I think it's going to be a situation where, as we see more rural, for lack of a better term, encampments cleared, they will become more present in the more populated areas, just as they get pushed out from different areas. But we are working with them and familiar with them.
Also, just wanted to go back to Andrew's point a few minutes ago, just to agree that yes, the earlier we can help individuals out of experiencing homelessness, the better in many situations. And so there are specific funding sources for that purpose, like for somebody who just needs to be able to pay their rent deposit so they can get back into housing or those kinds of things. There's ways to there's specific ways to prioritize those individuals that we have for those reasons you named.
I also want to echo Andrew's wisdom Because I really do agree that so I worked for a year in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, and what he's referring to is something called problem solving, which is rapidly becoming a best practice nationally about how we help people. The goal is to help people as quickly as possible in that early stage when they become homeless. And I know that locally we're working on strategies to try to improve that process and make that happen and to find funding to do it. So thank you, Andrew. You're right on the money.
Emily again. Yeah, just want to mention the diversion hotline that is prevention, diversion, and rapid rehousing. And that, people, when they go to an access point and we do the housing needs assessment, people are assessed for permanent supportive housing, but an equally large number of people are assessed for what's called rapid rehousing, which is a more short-term financial assistance, help with deposit, with rental assistance, with case management for a more short period of time. And that tends to be people who've been homeless. Well, it is people who've been homeless for shorter periods and have fewer, disabling conditions.
Thanks, Emily. Any other last thoughts? We've got about 5 minutes left. So I'm not seeing any. So with that, I'll just share briefly our upcoming calendar. Just to note that, as Chuck mentioned, SB Act will have a booth at the Lemon Festival where we'll have the updated homelessness response directory, paper copies. We'll also be trying to recruit individuals to serve the meals, as we mentioned. And it'll just be a way to try and engage with the community about homelessness issues. So we encourage you to stop by. We'll have lots of lemon heads, so come by and get a piece of candy. And then our next Goleta community meeting will be on Monday, the 23rd of October. And I think we're going to shoot for noon again. And we will see how that goes for a little period. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and close for today. I want to thank you all for being here. Appreciate you giving up your lunch hour. It's good to be with you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Monday. Have a
Happy
great
Monday,
day.
everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.